Welcome back, everyone, to the LCS. Before we get into our match, I had to get some words from the most recent MasterCard Player of the Week, Bjergsen. First of all, congratulations on another accolade and a 2-0 week for TSM.
Thanks. It was, I mean, the second game was a pretty rough one, but I'm happy that we pulled out a 2-0 and that I got recognized for playing well, I guess.
Yeah, a 2-0 week is a great place to be. And as far as this week goes, because we had the show match going on, I was actually watching back some VODs from way back when. And it's crazy to think about how much you've grown as a player. Do you ever just reflect back on the evolution of your career over the years?
Yeah, not even as much of a player, but just as a person, because I grew up through esports and through League of Legends, and I went from obviously living at home and being in school to now being an adult in my own apartment, and that entire transition has been while I was a pro player. So a lot of it has been documented, and it can be kind of hard to watch those old interviews and just the way that I talked and my mannerisms when I was 18 years old. But I think everyone feels that way looking at themselves as a kid. So it's
Oh,
it's still fun to look back.
definitely. It's like we all feel that way, but we don't all have hours of footage that we can actually look back to see it,
Yeah.
unlike you. And one of the things is like the game has evolved in things too, right? In 2014, you were just learning how to become a shot caller. Now you're still a leader within the team. How has that role evolved over the years?
It's evolved a lot. I mean, 2014, I wanted to be a leader, but I just don't think I was capable. You have to be at a certain level of maturity and understanding of people. You can't just say, I'm going to be a leader and then just be a leader. I just didn't really know how to work with people, what even being a leader meant. I didn't know if being a leader is something that you're born to do or something you can learn to do. Um, so back then, I wanted to be one, but it was going to take a lot of years before I could actually really step into that role.
And to be so consistent as a leader and a player, there are a lot of qualities that go into that. I mean, in fact, Keen Lam just wrote about adaptability being one of your strengths. So, when talking about whether being a leader is something you're born with or something you learn, adaptability, is that something you feel like is an inherent born characteristic within you or something that you actively, consciously focus as a player?
I think it's something I learned over time. I don't think I used to be a very good player at adapting. I used to be very like I would study really extensively and I would know really well what I had studied. But if anything was outside of that, I kind of struggled to adjust in the game. But I think when you've played the game for 10 years, then you've just seen so many different champions, so many different metas, so many different changes, and I played, every single mid champion coming in and out of meta. So when a champion returns, like AP Kog'Maw is not being played. Oh, I played AP Kog'Maw in season 4. It was one of my best picks. I can pick that champion up, no problem. So I think the adaptability really just comes from experience, and obviously I have a lot of experience at this point.
Well, and with all of that that has changed, one thing that hasn't in some contexts is C9 versus TSM. This can feel like a repeating story in some sense. And I know that you have said that it is a goal of TSM to defeat Cloud9 this split, but you've also mentioned that you feel there's still work to be done for TSM. So in this match, here and now, what are your expectations?
Hmm. I don't really come in with too strong expectations. I just come in with if we play our best, I know that we can beat them. If we don't play well, they're a team that will consistently beat us. And I think that's really all that I need to know as a player is that if I do my best and my team performs at our best, we still can win. Maybe other people think, the fans, analysts think that we can't beat C9, but I know that we can. And yeah, I'm just excited to play. I think it'll be a fun match.
Like that. Focus on individual performance and hope for a good team result. Well, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me before your match.
No problem. Thank you.
And for all of you at home, don't you worry, MasterCard is collaborating with the LCS. They are awarding lucky fans with a couple of personalized experiences. One winner will get to play and learn with Freak from the comfort of their own home, and 5 other participants will get a Q&A session with Dash. All you have to do is save your MasterCard in the League client. Contest runs from June 25th to July 19th with a double RP bonus going into the week if you sign up. And for more information, check out the full article at lolesports.com. But alas, with the match ahead, let's go ahead and send things over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Licorice. Welcome back to our match of the week, where the reigning champions challenge the team that ruined their perfect split in spring and longtime rival in TSM. This is a rivalry that was kept going by Licorice, who served as that transitional piece from the iconic roster that we saw play here just yesterday, that championship-winning roster, to where we are now here today.
Yeah, it's crazy that there's been a full turnover, and Licorice was the only player to really play with a lot of those guys, Blaber too, a little bit. And it's been incredible for Licorice. He has dumpster top lane, 22, plus 22 at 15. The next closest prior was Kumo at 3. That's how far ahead he was. He's also first in kills and assists at first 15, first at damage per minute. Like, there's not many stats that you could look at and not find Licorice at the top of the leaderboard.
You got to add to that, first one to also bust out the Wukong. So nobody else is trying to innovate as much in the top lane. So his champion pool really shining up there. And he recognizes top lane needs a little bit more help when it comes to innovating with these picks. But Cloud9 is clearly ahead of the curve because nobody else did it before them.
Probably. Yeah, and we're looking at these lane stats and, like, yeah, 22 CSD. The next closest is 3. And Licorice has played 2 Wukong games. Like, that's a notably weak champion in lane. So to be able to pull these big numbers means he's doing something really, really right. And I'm excited to see other people kind of follow in those footsteps.
Licorice is one of those players that performs so well that he skews the statistics for everybody else in that lane to just make them look awful. Mark, you mentioned that the next closest in CSD was at 3. A majority of our top laners have a negative CSD at 15 because they've all played against Licorice.
Yeah, it's so funny how, like, man, North American tops must suck. They all have a negative CSD. It's like, what's going on? It's like, well, they all have to play against Licorice.
Exactly.
You get boomed, and you have the Alorum treatment.
And while Licorice is smashing heads in the top lane, we have to acknowledge the mid lane as well. Nisqy's been unsurprisingly dominant throughout the year, but we're also starting to see on the flip side for TSM some of those images of old Bjergsen being unlocked in this version of TSM.
Yeah, I think this is the first time in spring Bjergsen didn't even meet my top 3 list, but this split he's kind of starting to awaken again and be that kind of threat that we've known him to be. Where even like back in 2019 spring TSM in the finals, he was trying to drag his team across the finish line. Like, this guy has so much carry potential that it's pretty insane. He has a wide champion pool. He was playing TF last week and Azir and showcase his ability to roam and also his ability to just be an impressive team fighter.
He's got a lot of carry potential, but it feels like it's just being him. Like, when I see him carry, I don't see there being a lot of other pieces coming around to help him out. It feels like he's just bailing the team out of situations that they shouldn't have gotten in the first place, whereas Nisqy and Blaber are trying, the rest of Cloud9 is trying to emulate a world champion team from 2019 from FPX. So the fact that these guys are bringing this to NA, I think, is a really positive move forward in the LCS, and it's only capable, it's only viable when you have Blaber in the jungle as well. So Nisqy's stats are skewed because Nisqy's participation with Blaber takes up most of his time, so we'd have to include his, and we know that he is literally #1 in every single jungle category, so that I think paints an even better story for how the mid matchup ends up going in these.
Mark, I want to explore this first point that Crumbs made, though, around Bjergsen and how he generates those leads, those advantages on his own. He really is a superstar.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the solo kills. These are situations where he's not getting any help. He's isolated against his opponent, and he's able to kill him. And I think, Nisqy had 0, and that's not a knock on him. It's about his play style. But he is empowering the people around him. Bjergsen does need to do a significant portion of the heavy lifting himself because the team coordination and cohesion isn't nearly on the same level as C9. That's why C9 is so favored in this matchup. But Bjergsen individually has been playing great. His damage share was also significantly higher. And this is while also experimenting with weirder picks like the Fiddlesticks mid and stuff. So it's not like he's playing control mage, uber greedy stuff every single time. He is still trying to play a team-centric game.
He gave us a little nugget there, too, in the interview with Licorice. Maybe he can bust out the Kog'Maw mid that he's already familiar with.
Looking for the new.
I mean, he cites his experience, right, as one of the main factors of his adaptability throughout the years, the experience on all of those different champions. But while we talk about his experience, there's 2 equally experienced players in the bot lane, and it seems so weird to me that we could be looking at teams that both house 2 of the best Western bot laners in the history of the game, and yet it doesn't seem like the success of either of these teams necessarily hinges on them.
Yeah, even Zven admits, like my teammates play so well that I don't even get to show off what I can do. I'm playing Ezreal, weak side farming with Qs in lane, and he doesn't get a chance to pop off until later in the game. Game's already over.
I mean, if you're going to be playing Tyr, Cole, Ezreal, you better not complain about getting no attention from the from your jungler down there. So I think it's inherent in the role, but we also have a lot more variety that these guys can bust out when they bring out the mages. I think Zven's Cassiopeia is really solid. We even got to see Doublelift Syndra, which was not bad. It was definitely passable. Well, we just would like to see it on Bjergsen, but now that it got nerfed, I think it can get through in the draft a little bit more. Maybe we get to see more of Doublelift's mages.
And I know at the beginning of the split, talking about Doublelift, we're like, all right, this is going to be a Doublelift team, because that's really how his teams go. They give him resources and they start focusing around bot. But the way we've been watching TSM now, it's like, this looks more like the Bjergsen TSM, not like a Doublelift TSM. So seeing him in the bot lane, like, he's still smashing, but it's not his yet. So I'm actually curious to see if it's going to step up and kind of rotate into that form, or if Bjergsen's gonna like steal the spotlight and stay performing.
Yeah, both of these AD carries have been beyond serviceable for their rosters, but it really does seem that the game will be dictated by that top trio on the map. Of course, we did bring up Blaber. Spica will have his work cut out for him today against the MVP from Spring. That's going to do it for us here, because we're moments away from Game 2, which will aim to add another exciting chapter to the North America's richest rivalry, Cloud9 versus TSM.
I'm very happy that we made it to the finals, but our goal was to win PAX Prime.
Championship game between the most dominant team in the LCS history and the team that's dominated North America since Season 1. It's Cloud9 versus Team Solo Mid.
They've never lost a playoff game in North America.
First time for everything.
And he's gonna hit the Nexus with their eyes on the Nexus, their eyes on the Summer Split.
It feels pretty damn good, dude. They're our good friends, and we took them down.
Playing C9 will definitely be really, really rough games.
He's using that aggressively. The ignite, the chain, and the kill. Bjergsen killed everyone this year. He could not kill high a single time.
I'm playing for pride. We haven't lost to them in playoffs, and I don't want to start now.
This is the third straight split that has come down to these two teams. Turtle on the triple, Turtle on the quadra. TSM goes the full 5 and takes down Cloud9. They have finally done it. They have defeated Cloud9 in the playoffs.
This trophy is currently TSM's, and I really don't want them to keep it.
Winning the trophy has always been TSM's legacy.
And they will do it once again. The consecutive wins for Team Solo Mid.
When I first joined the team, that was the most, hyped up match, was facing C9.
Cloud9 versus TSM. We've said it before. Such a historic rivalry between these two squads. So many battles between them.
They're going to give up the championship.
Disaster for Cloud9.
We've denied them their trophy so many times that I'm sure the organization is really salty.
I'm thinking about TSM today.
Of course, it always feels nice going up against TSM and being able to win against them.
I feel like we almost always come out on top, but they are always a really strong team, and they're always kind of our nemesis or our rival.
These are the kinds of games that divide friends and fans. Everyone is ready for C9 versus TSM.
You know what time it is right now? It's C9 time, dude.
From Licorice, he's looking to just body slam Bjergsen.
I'm just thinking, why is TSM even being compared to them right now?
I'm just saying here, but TSM has twice as many trophies as C9.
Nisqy, my boy Nisqy. This guy's insane.
Well, we have Bjergsen, and they don't.
Here comes the Azir shuffle. Gets one, gets two, all three are gone.
TSM may have resurrected their 2016 roster, but it's not going to work. Shutting up TSM chants never gets old.
Nothing really beats C9 versus TSM.
Welcome back. Nothing really beats C9 versus TSM, and honestly, nothing really beats C9 overall, as we got an exciting battle between the most dominant team, I will say, in LCS history. Straight up, Cloud9 in the current iteration is the best team North America has ever produced in the 11-year history of League of Legends. TSM are one of 2 teams to have even beaten them all year long.
Yeah, I mean, this year it's definitely been true. Everyone has been chasing Cloud9. It's been, everyone kind of compared to them. They are the measuring stick. You have to be able to take down Cloud9 if you want to have a chance at actually challenging for the trophy, because they are so clearly the #1 team this year. But TSM, as we just saw, has beaten them many times in the past, and is looking to return to those previous heights that they have had. One of the teams that people would compare and argue that is perhaps as good as this iteration of Cloud9, is the TSM with Doublelift. When they were dominating, when they were at their best in North America, that is one of the squads that people look to as one of those dynasties, as one of those teams that had kind of that unbeatable aura about them. And they are trying to return to that level. They're trying to challenge Cloud9. And I think it's going to be a really, really exciting game, because TSM has been on the up and up. I mean, they've won 4 games straight. They have been having stronger earlier games. I do think that they have their struggles. They're not all clean wins, but this is a team that is improving and is trying to make their case as the second best team in the league for sure. And maybe they'll be trying to challenge for #1.
And we know it's possible, right? Again, they did it just last split. TSM on paper got some upgrades. I think based on how they're playing, they do seem like a better team than they were in Spring Split. This could absolutely be a battle they could win. Yes, the story in the LCS since about week 3 of Spring was who's the distant second. We know Cloud9's going to win. Can they 18-0? Not quite. Can they go playoffs undefeated? Not quite, but they're dominant. Okay, in Summer Split, can they do 18-0? Maybe. We'll see. Who's distant second? TSM are probably at the top of that list. It would be incredible if they could change that story to no. We are equals, or we're your betters. They can take down Cloud9. Everyone get ready for the rematch when they go for it again. Everyone get ready for the rematch in playoffs when they meet in the finals. That would be where TSM would like to find themselves here. This is the roster that is poised to do it, and I want to see if they can play at that level, because at TSM's best, I think they can be C9's equals. The question is, can TSM play at their best consistently? Can they play at their best today? Can they play at their best throughout the rest of summer?
And how long does it take them to attain that level, right? They have players like Spica who needs to gain experience. And Doublelift, was talking about him and talking about, how he feels like he is a Blaber-esque player, how he has the mechanical skill, how he has, the drive and the determination. But what he's lacking is the experience, right? And that's something that there's no shortcut really to getting. You have to get those games in on stage. You have to, be more adept in recognizing different situations that you can only really do by just playing the game, by being in these matches. And we are already now into Champ Select. This is going to be an absolute banger. It's a best of 3 between Cloud9 and TSM this weekend. Cloud9, they had the Cloud9 Classic, they had the Academy, they've won both of those. So TSM looking to take them down here in what would be the most important match.
Yeah, the most important of the 3 compared to the show match in the Academy game. But regardless, yes, Cloud9 won all of those and looking for the perfect 9-0 end of the first round robin as they play today. And then these teams will each play again tomorrow. Yes, the early draft has been very, very rapid. And okay, Wukong, Senna, Azir on the one side, Volibear, and Varus on the other.
All right, let's go. I see it. People are just absolutely powering through this. I am actually wondering, is this Wukong bot? Is this actually Zven's Wukong? Or Vulcan playing it, as the farming Wukong. That is a strategy that I've actually been seeing a fair bit of. It has popped up a little bit in Pro, I do believe, but I've seen it in solo queue quite a lot as kind of this fasting Senna, where you have the Senna just playing the pseudo support style role, harassing, picking up souls. You do have the Wukong just power farming and grabbing all of that gold. And, really it can be a pretty powerful strategy. Of course, this could just be Wukong top. This could even be Wukong jungle. We saw Dardoch pull that out. So the flexibility is there. Of course, Azir will be mid lane. We know now it's going to be Nisqy's Azir versus Bjergsen's LeBlanc. You would think, given their kind of typical roles, that it would almost be reversed. Nisqy is known much more for getting out of lane, for invading with his jungler, for really kind of playing this up-tempo style, whereas looking for 2v2s with Blaber. And Azir generally is not that, unless your plan is just to AFK push in the lane and allow your jungler to invade that way.
Yeah, only one of these players has played Azir this split, and it was actually Bjergsen over there pulling off that win. We saw a clip of him in the hype piece coming into this one, but they both put LeBlanc once, and so Bjergsen's going to get game number 2 onto this one. We go into the next set of bans, and Cloud9 starting to get rid of supports, because of course they are. You got TSM dropping a top laner away, dropping the Lee Sin jungle away, saying, yeah, Wukong's maybe not in either of those roles. They seem keen to the fact that Wukong may well be bot lane here.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And Varus, kind of conspicuously getting through, still has like incredibly high ban presence. It is still the most banned by far in the world right now, and it's almost always banned on red side. So the fact that Cloud9 left it up, not only did it not get banned, they didn't first pick it. So they very clearly wanted to give this over to TSM. TSM was actually the last time I remember Varus getting through picks and bans, but in that game, they were the ones giving it over to their teammates and going for Blitzcrank Kalista and trying to punish it in that way. So I'm really curious to see what Cloud9's strategy is going to be to try to punish this Varus, because it will be paired with the Bard. That does mean it's going to be a really strong laning duo. Having the double ranged characters down there can be very punishing. If you want to send Wukong down to that bottom lane as the farmer, it can be pretty difficult as a melee champion into double range to be able to pick up a lot of farm without just getting harassed completely out of the lane.
Well, we'll see what comes through here as Sett is locked in, and I can't be certain which one's going where, but yeah, I mean, Sett could go jungle, top, or bot lane. What's funny is we normally see Sett as the hard support in bot lane. Could easily be the farming member down there with Senna over there. I will say that Senna did get buffs to last hitting Senna. Like playing AD carry Senna did get stronger a few patches ago, so we see the occasional player play it. I still like support Senna the most, where you go Spectral Sickle, but we'll see what the rest of the champions are, and it is going to be one of those champions jungling because Ornn is, I want to say, the top laner here.
Ornn can be farming with Senna too.
I know he can be as well. I'm just saying that my prediction is top lane, but all three can go in all three roles, although Ornn jungle is the least likely.
I actually have, it's not going to be Ornn jungle. My guess is it's Sett jungle. And it's going to be the Wukong and the Ornn being flexed around, and that'll probably just be dependent upon the matchup. I do think that Mordekaiser, obviously is a pretty good matchup into both, but particularly difficult for Ornn. So that could just be Ornn staying bot to farm, but with the current trades, we'll just wait. We won't speculate too much. We'll wait and see. But Wukong Senna, as I said, this is something that I've seen quite a lot of. It's really very, very strong. The Senna has a good amount of harass, is trying to create space for this Wukong to farm. Your all-in is actually quite strong there too. If you can land a Senna root into the knockup there from the Wukong, the all-in potential is pretty powerful. Obviously, the Senna able to give support and added damage with the ultimate for the Wukong, allowing him to dive more deeply with the ultimate shields there also. And this is more of that kind of team fight style of composition here from Cloud9, which I guess is less typical from them. They have been more picking like roaming and skirmishing and winning lanes and all this sort of stuff. So I'm going to be really curious to see how this goes, because I do see ways that TSM can actually win this. I think that they have an advantageous lane top lane. I think they have an advantageous lane mid lane and bot lane. I actually give them 3 winning lanes here. Whether or not they can execute on that is a different story. But I mean, you have Varus Bard against a Wukong who's trying to farm. That's actually really, really difficult in the early stages. LeBlanc, has the ability to bully out Azir potentially in the early game. It can be a more of a 50-50 matchup if the Azir can kind of just outpush LeBlanc. Sometimes you can negate that a bit. Mordekaiser definitely favored. So this is interesting.
Yeah. And we already know that kind of Cloud9 plays their bot lane weak side. Of the players in this game, the bottom 2 in gold difference at 10 are Vulcan and then Zven beneath that. They are very typically behind at 10 minutes. The other 3 on Cloud9 go ahead. Obviously TSM, very strong in a lot of lanes here. The real Cloud9 flip is between 10 and 15. That's when they get all their money, when you start grouping up and playing team fights. That's the really big early mid-game strength for C9. But I agree, the early lanes are going to be very interesting. We know Licorice tends to be super dominant up at the top side, but second place in gold difference at 10 in that top lane is Broken Blade on the other side. These are the 2 best performing top laners in early lane dominance. They're going head to head in a matchup, as you say, is going to be Broken Blade favored. You're liking all these lanes here. We know Bjergsen is an outstanding player here as well. Spica is I think the second jungler in gold difference of players who've played more than like 4 games. There's a lot of good stuff here on the TSM side. I expect their early game to look really explosive. I think the team fight's going to be really interesting because Azir has to do so much of the heavy lifting in the overall team fight status. Wukong not the same persistent damage that you're going to get out of a Varus, for example. So very intrigued to see where these team comps move around as time goes on, as we group up, as we get into team fights. And so with the players loaded up and ready to hit the rift, it's finally time to jump in to Cloud9 versus TSM. Hello and welcome to Summoner's Rift. Zven's giving us a thumbs up because we have the match of the week here, Cloud9 and TSM. A battle between the most dominant team in LCS history and the winningest team in LCS history, TSM. Got all those stars in the jersey for all those trophies they've hoisted. The #2 team in the LCS right now, one of only 2 teams to beat Cloud9 all year, hoping to bring it back again.
It's going to be a really exciting game. You know, such different styles of compositions coming out for this team. You can see triple TP actually on both sides. So, you know, a lot of ability to move around the map to match aggression. You know, if there are any ganks coming in, you have to be very wary of those types of plays. And minor thing, but this is actually Bjergsen getting a deep ward there. You can just start the distortion on LeBlanc. He distorts over the Dragon Wall, drops that ward. It's very safe to actually look for those types of plays because you can just W right back over that wall. It is worth noting I did look up some of the Wukong bot stats. So it is actually 5-2 in pro play across the major regions. So has been fairly successful. Obviously fairly small sample size, you know, of just those 7 games, but is already doing quite well.
Yeah, and of course we got to see Mad Lions bring it out twice as well, drafting Senna Wukong into Varus lanes. So other teams have gone for this exact sort of setup where you're doing it into the matchups. Varus tends to be very frail early game, has a lot of range, but that doesn't tend to matter when you can close the gap on Wukong E. So hoping to abuse maybe low durability. I gotta say, Grasp on Senna, really, really nice as well. Of course, your Q applies on hits. You can like whack a minion once, wait 3 seconds, then Q through, and you poke them, plus get Grasp off, so your poke can be very good. There it is, for example. And yeah, it can look really, really solid.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if he's going to go for kind of the latter build that I've been seeing, which is just Grasp Senna, and it's full on like tank, like Frozen Mallet Rush with Grasp, and you're just playing to be incredibly annoying. To essentially, instead of having the Glacial Augment, you replace that with the Frozen Mallet, you apply the slows with that, you're constantly stacking up Grasp for the bonus, you know, permanent health that you are getting. And yeah, to talk about the Varus versus the Wukong, you know, Varus Bard, your job is to poke them down enough that they can't look for an all-in. Because the all-in is very threatening, you know, especially post-6. As you said, Varus is fairly frail, doesn't have, you know, a tremendous amount of mobility. So the all-in with Senna and Wukong can look very, very good. But if the Wukong is poked out too heavily before he gets the opportunity, well, guess what? You can't all-in at 20-30% health. And that's kind of what these two lanes are going to be looking to do. It's, you know, very atypical bot lane. You can expect the Wukong Senna to be behind. They should be losing as far as farm. You know, that is very much so expected, but can look for kills later.
All right, Volibear near the mid lane. Nisqy hugging a little bit too far to the left-hand side.
Sett. I don't know if they saw Sett. They didn't, I don't think.
Looks like they might not have, but now they're picking up to go towards the scuttle. So suddenly, Spica with the vision advantage comes in, puts the storm down, Blaber walks away, and easy smite comes through, well played by Spica, grabs that one, takes a camp out there, equalizes the total farm across the 2 junglers. Bjergsen wants to get a trade, one more auto, there's the electrocute. Nisqy wants it back in, gets it for himself, and that is what that looks like. Spica and Bjergsen not able to really reply to that.
Yeah, very, very well done there by Nisqy trading back. If he is playing the electrocute, is going to be about these short little trades. Interested to see what kind of a build he will go here. We've been seeing more diverging builds, you know, from the Azir. Some people are going Lost Chapter and then just sitting on that pretty much forever, you know, going into Nashor's Tooth. Some people are then even just skipping the Lost Chapter altogether, saying, I don't need that mana. I can actually just go Doran's Ring and a Dark Seal and then go straight towards my Nashors and Death Cap and Leandries and these types of more team fight powerful items. So will be interesting to see where they go. Spica has been spotted.
Very smart ward. If he has smite, he gets the big Krug. No problem there. Auto is going to be a... can't quite get the second one off for the Q, so no extra soul picked up, but Vulcan's going to go ahead and knock down the next. This medium Krug will allow the camp to respawn. If he wants to take the small ones for 18 gold, he can, but that will let the camp despawn, and Blaber won't have to go visit to it, and he can wait for the next one to come up later on. Still is golden XP taken by Spica. Well done to him. Check out the top lane. Temporarily a farm lead to Licorice. Broken Blade is going to whack him once real quick. Not sure if he got the craft off in time, and knocks down a cannon. Overall, though, farm pretty good for Licorice so far.
Yeah, Licorice doing well. You know, he's just got to try to withstand this. You know, you're not really looking to fight the Mordekaiser too much unless you can kind of poke him down if he makes too many mistakes. It's more just about withstanding the onslaught, getting as much farm as possible, getting to your foraged items where you start to really become very, very useful, obviously, in those team fights. And It's also interesting to notice that, Vulcan is actually the one playing the Senna. I wouldn't have been surprised if it was actually the opposite. A lot of people, when you do have the fasting Senna, actually put your standard marksman player on that because they are so comfortable playing, this marksman style champion. And generally speaking, Zven would probably spend way less time playing melee champions than Vulcan, and now they're looking for the engage.
Flash comes in, it's going to land the root, though couldn't quite flash over it. Spica just the wrong timing on that. Might have set up differently. Regardless, though, still burns double sums off of Vulcan up in that bottom lane.
Yeah, not bad at all. Bjergsen almost actually died. I saw his health just on the frames there. It looked like he was at like 5%, so him and Nisqy obviously went at it pretty heavily. Bjergsen does not get solo killed, but it looked like Vulcan was trying to just barely eke out not having to flash. He hit the W and healed for move speed, and then realized he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to avoid that stun or not, so does commit the flash, and nicely done there. They'll get the TP out of Zven. It is going to be a Sheen early on, so very aggressive option. He clearly is looking for that burst, not feeling afraid of this matchup, and will be going for the most burst out of this Triforce instead of going for something like the Phage or even the attack speed to try to play it, maybe a little bit more safely.
Good stun, good poke. Cannot get away from Doublelift's hail of arrows either, so already Zven's at half HP, and Unity couldn't have afforded to buy the full Phage because it's a 200 gold or so difference. You could still go long with Ruby Crystal and be like, yeah, I want the stats now so I don't die. But he's like, no. Yes, we're going Sheen, we're going for the burst, no combat stats otherwise.
Yep, and it's very clear what they want to do. When you see that, it's like, I want to kill you, right? That is the reason you buy the Sheen. It's the same thing generally when you see, Aurelias and stuff go for these types of items. They are looking more for the all-in, less about just being able to sit through this. Doublelift is up quite a bit of farm, and they actually kind of had held the wave, pretty nicely. It will push out now towards C9, but Doublelift does have his TP, and because he's TPing much later, he's going to have the better buy. He will have more gold there, so a lot of long swords, some lethality being purchased up here for him, and we'll see if he can start to get lane dominance.
Nisqy having a hard time finding how to trade against Bjergsen there as the wave comes down. Health bar dropped a fair bit lower, and it is going to be the last chapter early for the Azir here. As we get the ability power stacked up here, Bjergsen on his side had to take a slightly earlier recall and thus less efficient items, as the cannon is going to be grabbed by Vulcan, as Zven couldn't quite do it. So 70 gold goes over to the support down there. Personally, I'm a fan of, I see your point about like, hey, have a marksman player play the marksman. I'm a fan though of playstyle differences where, I'm the one who catches side lanes, I'm the one who's the carry, I'm the one who does the poke. Like, I actually like when the supports are playing the Senna when you are going Spectral Sickle. I'm a fan of that personally, and now we get a fight in the top side. Easy stun gonna land for Licorice, good bit of damage there, and can't quite get the second auto. Flashes for it, is not enough to kill Broken Blades. It slows, forces the flash, not gonna go for any more, but that does force the flash down, and now Nisqy can show up. How about the ulti? Doesn't even get to cast it. The kill out of the turret, the dabbing penguin. A kill on the board, and now Zven wants it on Doublelift, but isn't level 6. Means the health bar gets so very low, he almost goes down.
Yeah, he is incredibly low. Biofrost still has his ultimate. We'll see if they want to try to fish for it. Doesn't look like they're going to make the commitment, and Bjergsen is down here, so Zven has got to keep running. Blaber could actually be in trouble for a potential dive if they realize that the bot lane's gone.
Okay, a lot of danger. Go to turn off the turret. Blaber says, okay, let me put that in me as well. Flashes, still gets stunned and cannot get out. Well-timed Q by Biofrost. No way to leave that stun.
Yeah, that was perfectly done there. Blaber was mashing the flash, but still, once it's actually casted and it connects with you, it will bind to the place that basically it would have originally. Here is this play one more time. Licorice knows he has Nisqy roaming up. There was actually pings on it, so Broken Blade did realize it as well. I think he would have actually needed to try to flash the knock up there, but perhaps underestimating how much damage was actually in the tank, because when you don't flash the knock up, you're allowing that to come through for that damage. You're allowing the extra brittle hit to come through. He did still have his ult, so I think he was hoping that he could actually defend himself with this. Then Blaber, I do actually think, plays this right, sitting into the ultimate. His W is on cooldown, so he knows he's in trouble. And if you actually just don't go inside this ultimate, you might be thinking, oh, well, that's silly, you're going to get stunned out of it. But the turret will be turned off, and you will just die. So he's hoping that he can buy enough time for Vulcan to come back and potentially save him for his, for his W cooldown to maybe come up. Something like that, but that was just a really nice dive from TSM. Good roam for the Bjergsen.
Alrighty, so an exciting game to start things out. Kills on the board on both sides. We crest 10 minutes into the game, and gold is deadlocked between the two. Now, over the next 5 minutes, on average, Cloud9 earns 2,500 more gold than their opponent. over the next 5 minutes. That is the statistical average, and we'll see if they can do that one here. Bjergsen, big chunk in the mid lane, as Nisqy's got to regret that one a bit as he goes towards his next components there. Bjergsen's feeling real comfortable in mid. Goes for round 2. Bit more poke to Nisqy.
Yeah, does poke him out pretty nicely there. Has a heavy health advantage, and Licorice just not scared of this matchup at all. Remember, Broken Blade has no flash, but he does have the ulti, so the dive would be hard.
Pulls in one, a lot of damage there. Not going to be enough to kill. Broken Blade still hold on to the ulti, but he's summonerless and health barless and has to walk away from top lane.
Yeah, and the wave's going to be pushing towards him, and he has no TP, so he will be losing quite a lot. But Spica has the Rift Herald. They're knocking down multiple plates here, and then they can actually drop Rift right after this if they want. They know that Nisqy got chunked out. They knew he didn't have teleport, so they're actually just going to take Nisqy's tower from full here. And that is very punishing because Azir really wants this bastion of safety to be able to farm safely at. You know, we have LeBlanc on the other side who's happy to roam around, who's happy to skirmish, who has so much more mobility and safety. Bjergsen looking.
Nisqy goes through to summon the turret, which is going to stop dive from meaning anything. Now Spica's got to be careful. He does have flash, but he's dunked back in. Ults back out, flashes for some movement, just barely stays alive. Onto the bottom side, Doublelift gets put at under 100 HP. That is what Cloud9 wanted him to do, and they finally find something.
Man, there are just fights everywhere. The observers cannot watch every place at once. Mid lane, it looked like Cloud9 was actually looking to try to take down Bjergsen, take down Spica. They almost get it there. And on that bottom lane, the first all-in here comes in from Zven, comes in from Vulcan. You can see both their ultimates were committed. They just barely weren't able to kill off Doublelift. And now Blaber is behind him, so Doublelift potentially in trouble. But Blaber doesn't have his ulti.
Ulti list, yeah, does find a bit of a CC, but not enough to kill out Doublelift, who's forced to burn the flash to get away. One plate drop to the top side, or in the bottom side, I should say. And now here comes Volibear. This is going to be the re-engage. Damage on a Blaber. Chunked a bit low, gets the heal, and is going to run away, staying alive out of that one, as Vulcan actually burns Summoner heal to give him the move speed to get away from that one. So
yeah,
nice roam by the opposing jungler.
It looked like Biofrost actually mistimed his Q as well. Did not latch. I'm not even sure if it hit onto Blaber. It may have hit just for the slow. Not 100% sure on that one, but either way, you know, Cloud9 trying to put pressure here onto Doublelift. Now with the flash down, that is pretty dangerous for Doublelift, you know, knowing that the ultimates will be back up from this Cloud9 2v2 before Doublelift has flash. So Blaber doing a really good job there, and he's going to be in trouble now.
Teleport coming in. Bjergsen wants to be part of this 2v1, and there is no way out for the Sett. Bjergsen onto the board again with kill number 2. Nicely done by Spica. Says, hey, come over here. This is the freebie, and they knock it down.
TP's in, grabs a nice kill, already has his Ludens here. TSM is looking really, really good, and you know, it's not like Cloud9 can just depend upon their standard late game team fighting. You know, Zven is playing a very different style of champion. You know, yes, he will be accustomed to where to go to pick up farm and how to play it out in that regard, but playing a melee champion, and especially an engaged melee champion, is so different from playing your standard marksman. We'll have to see how he does do. This guy obviously is a very big solo queue grinder, so I'm sure he has been putting in the time. You know, sitting at rank 1 for a lot of this season, if not still rank 1 right now.
Red buff fight, level 8 on both. Easy stun gonna land. Here comes the play for it. It's gonna be Spike coming through, and the kill coming in right afterwards as well. Blaber wearing a red buff out of this. Biofrost runs through the portal, but now the Ornn on the bottom side has a lot of damage on Bjergsen. He's hitting him up for almost his entire health bar. He's got 30 health left. Can Bjergsen get away? He can for now, but not for long enough. The Azir Emperor is here. Shrima will rise again, and Bjergsen will fall.
Licorice almost just 100 to 0 Bjergsen there, and then Nisqy gets the shutdown. Licorice is getting really, really strong. I mean, he's 30 CS up on Broken Blade. Yes, there was some roams and some helps up for Licorice, but this is supposed to be the winning matchup here for Broken Blade, so you know, falling behind like that is very problematic as this Mordekaiser. Licorice is going to be incredibly strong in the team fighting. You know, very quickly we'll be working towards his Sunfire Cape, have those double upgraded items, and Cloud9's front line is going to be really, really beefy with this tank set, with the Ornn. They do have good engage, they have the follow-up, so they're going to be looking to dive into the back line with Vulcan's ult layered over top, shielding them up, giving them even more durability to create space for Nisqy to really pump out the damage.
All right, but looking at the game state, though, it's only a 700 gold difference. It is, though, TSM ahead out of this one. Cloud9's leads are in top and jungle, their primary melee champions. TSM's leads, though, are on a Varus and a LeBlanc. If you're looking for gold leads on 2 players, those are the ones you want them on. Bjergsen and Doublelift with some absurd amount of trophies between the two of them, probably around 15 or so. That's going to be a lot of pain that Cloud9 has to deal with when we get ourselves into the team fights. As well, Bjergsen is on split push, and honestly, the 1v1 doesn't get any harder when he's down to the side lane.
I just don't know, is Doublelift far enough ahead for this pick to really have kind of paid off in the 2v2? Because I do think like the engage is going to be so scary. Bjergsen though looking aggressively here for Nisqy. Power shots leading
turret shots, but goes in for another one. And look at that! Bjergsen with the solo kill in the side lane.
Wow, Bjergsen just going back in for it. Had Nisqy corralled there. Does end up getting this solo kill, despite the fact that Vulcan shot out the Senna ultimate. It was just a little bit too late. And Bjergsen now going to take full control in this side lane. Oh, nice ult.
Beautiful. That ult was perfect. Spica has to run, but he's knocked into the air. Ults over the wall. The follow-through. Zven comes over and takes him down, burns the flash, and gets the kill again. Cloud9 keep up.
Yeah, Spica's having some pretty careless deaths. That is twice now he's been picked off, in their opponent's jungle. Clearly, they do not have any vision in there. So why are you in there just trying to take away camps? There's not a single TSM ward in that side of the map. There's nothing in the jungle, so they have got to play that a little bit more carefully. Vulcan is actually going for a phage here, so I'm guessing he's going Black Cleaver, potentially, to actually shred maybe for the Wukong, for the Sett.
Yeah, shouldn't be Trinity Force.
But that would be
please don't go Trinity Force. That is actually the worst item to buy on this champion, as more health comes in. So yeah, that is the components of Cleaver. So not going to be Mallet, will be Cleaver.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's heavy CDR, which is also really, really nice for the Senna. That is one of the things that I think feels pretty bad about going for that Frozen Mallet. But they are looking to ult this turret potentially and go for Nisqy.
Does not land the chain. That would have been a couple hundred damage dealt right there. But he's got to be respectful still as Biofrost shows up.
They're in trouble.
Q should be pretty easy. Lands the stun. There's the rest of the burst. Can't kill him just yet. And here comes the reinforcements. There comes the root, though. Over the wall comes Zven. A little bit more damage will knock him down. And Zven, so far, so good on the bot lane Wukong.
Nicely done. Grabs another kill for himself there. TSM perhaps overestimating how much damage they could actually get down onto the Azir, who ended up being fairly tanky, just sitting on that Null Magic Mantle, but making a pretty big difference against Biofrost and Bjergsen here. And this is not a LeBlanc with Ignite. That's something you've got to remember. If you have Ignite there, you probably have the damage to actually knock him down. Broken Blade, though, in trouble up on the top side.
And yet again, Broken Blade will be slowed. Stunned to the minion wave. Good damage here. Still not going to burn the ulti just yet. Goes for the pullback on a Licorice. And I think Broken Blade has not ulted all game long.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, Broken Blade just kind of holding on to it, walking away. Sadly, is playing the weak side of the map. And this turret, not long for the world.
It just seems weird. Like, in that situation, why not try to punish Blaber? If you can actually pull him close enough to your turret and hit him with the ulti, there is potential to actually kill him off. But Broken Blade getting attacked a lot, not really getting any help from his team, so he's just getting put more and more behind. This Mordekaiser is starting to look pretty worthless. TSM, though, down on the bottom side, looking to pick up their second Dragon on the game. This should be theirs pretty easily, as Cloud9 not really even in a position to fight for this whatsoever. And if TSM can work towards the Infernal Soul, that would be great. The Varus, the LeBlanc, both of these champions, very reliant on their poke. And it's like essentially an extra Ludens just kind of put on top. It does make your poke very, very dangerous.
Yes, it does. So now the red buff attempt, not going to be easy for Nisqy at all. Easy smite. Spica on his third time into the red buff jungle. Finally takes it down.
This time, actually had support. He had LeBlanc around, he had Bard with him, so that one made a bit more sense. Besides kind of those solo adventures that he had been going on, those were a little bit too risky for my taste. We can see Zven now has the Triforce completed. He's going to be working towards the Death Dance. This is standard as standard gets, really, for Wukong these days. Licorice almost to those upgraded items, and he has both his items completed. Has farmed very well on this Ornn. They took down the tower, so he has extra gold there too. And now ticks over to 13, gets that double upgrade. So Ornn is pretty much fully online. Nashers is done for the Azir. So a lot of things looking good over on that Cloud9 side. For TSM, I think they really are kind of waiting for this death cap to be completed. They're going to be feeling a lot happier about where they're sitting in this game, because Bjergsen has been the main person making things happen for the squad.
Yeah, absolutely been a huge force. I mean, he has literally all of their kills, and there's at most 1 out of 3 KP on any other player on TSM. It is so much about Bjergsen doing it by himself, and it's working. The gold lead, it was there a moment ago. It's tied back up for now, but at least TSM is up a Drake. But as bot lane turret falls, Cloud9 have reasserted a small gold lead. 20 minutes, which is then immediately answered by, of course, it's Bjergsen. But now more CC for Blaber. Cannot lock him up long enough, though. The magical journey was there, and out goes TSM.
So one thing I do kind of want to talk about is, there's obviously a pretty big difference in the soul lanes right now, right? Licorice is fairly ahead of Cloud9. Bjergsen is fairly ahead. Oh, we're going to see a TP, so we'll cut that off.
Here comes the big play. Blaber's got to be careful. Gets the ulti down to buy some space, but he's still going to be chunked in, and he is in the Death Realm with Broken Blade. So it's a 1v1 for now. He starts to keep cutting away. Now the rest of the damage comes across as the team comes through, and they get the rest of the kill in. Nicely done. TSM again on the board.
Yeah, they get that kill. I don't know if they want to go to Baron here. That would be pretty risky. Their sustained damage is quite low, so I think it will just be the push, trying to get more out of this. But basically C9 has invested a lot of their resources to put their tank ahead, whereas on the other side, it's Bjergsen getting a lot of the help. It's always, Biofrost and Spica and people attacking Nisqy, trying to put him down. And I think that's more problematic, potentially, than the Mordekaiser being behind. Licorice looking for the engage, though.
There's a play yet again. A lot of damage down. Broken Blade will fall off. Zven not going to be traded back just yet. He's in the back line. He's going to force Doublelift in the flash. It's going to miss. He can't catch the Varus. The burst damage for Varus. 2, 3 more autos, but it's not going to be enough. And Zven again cleans up another kill. Bjergsen around the wing is going to find a root onto Licorice, who immunes the root himself. And now Spica and Biofrost are there to knock down the tank on the top side, but he's so durable, it's not going to work out just yet. Re-engage again. They find the knockup. Vulcan claims the kill. So far, so good. Passing grades for Zven in team fights. Yet to do anything wrong here, and it's Broken Blade who is dead. It's Bjergsen trying to run away. Blaber on the chase. Can't find too much more to do. But Cloud9 in team fights are excelling.
They're going to get this because, while TSM doesn't have good sustained damage, guess what? You have Azir. That's all the sustained damage you are ever going to need. You stack up the triple Sand Soldier. There's no jungler alive, so Bjergsen is going to have to try to look for some heroics. They can delay with the Bard ulti. Varus is TPing back in, but this should be Cloud9's. It's just going down too fast.
If there's no miracle, it's going to go to Cloud9. 3 versus 5. This is the play. Is it going to be enough? Q comes over. Smite is true for Blaber, just like the damage it deals. Out goes Cloud9 after a great team fight. 2,500 gold lead and a Baron buff on all 5.
Yeah, they're barely able to stay alive and multiple members in this fight. And this was just a great engage. They know that Broken Blade has no ultimate, so they can go for this immediately straight onto the Mordekaiser. They catch him. Zven goes through. Right over onto Doublelift, and it looked like he actually maybe tricked him a bit. It felt like TSM was actually hitting the clone somewhat there, and Zven just barely getting the E cooldown back, kites away from Bjergsen, bides his time until the spells are on cooldown, until Vulcan and Nisqy do arrive, and then he can actually re-engage. And he stayed around. Bjergsen is out of there, so there's not going to be enough damage from this tank Volibear and Bard to actually kill him off, so able to rejoin with the team, get another kill. Multiple QSS also purchased up here now for Cloud9. That feels like they're saying we are in a position where we could actually go aggressively, where we want to take fights, where we want to be able to push the pace. And having the QSS to get out of something like a Varus ultimate when the Wukong is going forward is going to be really, really valuable. And there's one on Blaber and Zven. So with the Baron buff, with those multiple QSSs, they could look to really deal some damage to TSM.
And I'll bet you coming into the year, Zven had like 3 total games on Wukong in his entire life. And this looks like he's been playing it for his entire career, man. He's been doing so well in every single team fight. Laning phase, yeah, it's rough. You're against double range. This is what it's going to look like. But in team fights, he's been perfect. The ulti's been on point 3-0 and 3. It's great work down here in the bottom lane. Zven can do it all. And now Cloud9 have tied up the dragon count. It's going to be a long time till we hit Soul. And TSM still playing the game close. The difference not that big in this game. Under 3K is better than the vast majority of teams can do at 23 minutes against Cloud9. But it is C9 starting to build out that lead.
Yeah, and I like their composition as far as team fighting a lot more too. So if you are actually getting pushed in by this Baron buff, it does get difficult. It's going to be on TSM to find picks, to utilize the Bard ulti, to utilize, poke from Doublelift to soften someone up so maybe Bjergsen can fly in and finish them off. But if that does not happen, it does get pretty difficult because Ornn is becoming nearly invincible at this point. The upgraded items are coming through for multiple members on C9. A locket now completed, which I do really like for Licorice there, to help keep his teammates alive through any potential LeBlanc burst. You drop that down, and it does get very difficult for Bjergsen to have enough damage to kill off someone like Nisqy.
All right, here comes the Ornn again to the top side. It's going to be CC on the one. A lot of lockdown there onto the poor Bard. It's going to be enough to knock down the turret. Now Blaber over the wall, wants in, finds a small stun into Spica, who's going to ult back away. Shield comes in for some damage. Out they go. Good poke, but Doublelift is now out of mana. And Licorice, he's tanky, but he is alone. Finally, the reinforcements come in. It's going to be enough to force TSM backwards. The route on the Mordekaiser means no fight to be had. And again, Cloud9 are safe. Now 4,000 gold ahead. They have turned the corner, and their team fight prowess is just pushing TSM around.
Yeah, Licorice, maybe alone, but he's a one-man team on the Ornn. So damn tanky. Cannot really get knocked down there. And giving a little check-in on the Senna. Vulcan has over 70 stacks. So before that last fight, he had 71 stacks, I do believe. You know, that is very, very impressive. You know, 3 range upgrades already coming through. He's going to have his next one fairly shortly after that. And it is giving you the additional damage too. So despite this, you know, fairly defensive build that he's actually going for, you can become pretty damn annoying. You're constantly, you know, shredding armor. You're applying the CC and little bits of damage to him.
And he's going Frozen Mallet next. Giant's Belt's part of that combined, so we'll see what actually comes through for him as Zven just keeps clearing down the waves. He's actually getting a lot of farm there. Second place on the team. He's catching a lot of these waves up so far, especially when you consider how bad that early lane had to be for him. Doing just fine in this regard. We'll now see what the resets look like as the neutral objectives are gone for 2 minutes each. And Cloud9 with the lead should be looking to continue to play aggressively. Wards littering this right-hand side jungle. All 3 down in a row, saying, yep, this is the path we want to control. Drake is the next thing we're playing for.
Yep, so some more items getting completed here. You know, we have the Death Dance coming through, the Banshee's Veil, those are going to be pretty big. Broken Blade looks like he's building towards a Nashor's, which can be very effective against some of these beefy frontliners. If you're just planning to ult someone like Sett or Ornn, then having the Nashor's can be actually very nice in that kind of ultimate duel. So it does make some sense there. Bjergsen now, big buy for him, has the Void Staff completed. So he's got, you know, 3 of those really, really powerful items and is level 16 where that LeBlanc ultimate cooldown becomes very short and you can really start to get a lot of work done, you know, with the distortions into the double Qs or even double distort looking for AoE on stacked up team members from Cloud9.
Yeah, great forgiveness spike for this champion. I think Bjergsen can definitely take the game into his own hands, but has to find those big flanks, has to be kind of the man of the match here because TSM kind of bleeding out in all places at this point. I'd be surprised if any one of their players had a gold lead aside from Bjergsen off the kills and farm that he has, because it feels like, you know, we get to the group part. The first 10 minutes, sometimes even the first 15, teams can hold up against Cloud9. TL got to 15 before it fell apart. TSM got to 15 before it fell apart. But the later on into the game you look, the more and more likely you are that Cloud9 are absurdly far ahead, that their team fighting, their macro play, their coordination, whatever it has always been better than their opponents. And it looks like every other Cloud9 game at this point on, where they're 28 minutes in with a 10% gold lead, and they're ready to take control of the entire map.
I've got to give a little bit more credit to that, though, I feel like, than TSM. Okay. It felt like it was close, you know, even a bit later than that, to like 20 minutes. And to be fair, Cloud9 usually wins the game on their first berry, so it's a bit closer than that. We will see if they can hang on, though. C9 obviously looking good. They do force that stopwatch out of Blaber.
And TP for Broken Blade, with thankfully for him, the movement speed means he can kite away. Vulcan takes a piercing arrow from Doublelift, but they still want to run forward. Q's through a ward for some damage. Vulcan narrowly dodged the chain that would have dropped him below 1,000 HP. More poke for Doublelift makes this fight hard for Cloud9. Baron is up. Dragon is up in 15 seconds, and C9, yes, with several members a bit low on health, this fight might be difficult.
On the flank.
Spica on the flank might just be dead meat, though, as Licorice is right around him. Cannot quite catch Doublelift. Puts in the ulti, though, as Zven has come around for the flank, and Vulcan just shuts him down. Crowd control the entire team. Bjergsen chunked low. Zven goes in for the play, lands the Q, and kills his fellow Dane. And another ulti comes in, more knockups, more kills. Nisqy steps up Zven with the alley-oop, and it's time to push in. 5 versus 2. No one can stand against Cloud9, not even TSM. As they knock down the middle inhibitor turret, the inhibitor itself going to drop as well. And look at the positioning. They want the Nexus now. They're going in the front lines. Licorice can tank the turrets. And how much can Biofrost and Spica even do? Most teams lose by 30 minutes. Well, guess what? TSM is most teams to Cloud9 as it goes sky high. The kills come through. There is nothing else for TSM to do. Cloud9 undefeated in the first round robin.
Perfect 9-0 here to start off the summer split for Cloud9. making it look easy down the stretch. TSM made them work for it in the early stages, but Cloud9, end of the day, they find their fight, they close it out, they make it looks so easy to end games. It's just insane how they're able to just turn it on. They find these angles. And Zven actually deserves so much credit. You know, I wasn't sure how he was going to look, you know, playing a different style of champion, playing this melee champion, you know, where you are reliant for the engage, but he found really good angles. That last fight in particular, sneaking around behind Doublelift, not only kills him off, kills Bjergsen off. He withstood the pressure in the laning phase. And Cloud9, at the end of the day, have closed the game in under 30 minutes, have shown us that they have mastery of a new strategy. So now there's another thing that you have to worry about. And, you know, it's like the scary just gets scarier.
Yeah, every Cloud9 game is close until it isn't anymore. Sometimes that's at 10 minutes, sometimes at 15.
Sometimes that's at 5.
Sometimes at 20, sometimes at 25 minutes. And then it's just the game is explosive. They still didn't need a second Baron. They just simply had to do the vision setup, and one explosive team fight meant they pulled the trigger, they took the battle, and they evaporated the backline. Cloud9 do not have an equal yet in North America. We'll see if it happens in the next 9 games. Maybe not. Either way, we are taking a break, and when we return, the Tigers will hear from the Wukong god of the bot lane. Stick around.
Brightness is increasing. There it is. Oh, yeah, beautiful.
Cars like this don't come around often. The redesigned Type R, the most powerful Civic ever, from Honda.
Welcome back, everyone, to the LCS. I've got another Verizon post-game interview with you. This time it is the Wukong down bot. We've got Zven. First of all, a victory for you. And I know after so many victories, maybe the opponents start to blur together for you a bit. But from the audience perspective, this is a rivalry we've been looking forward to. You're someone who's played under both banners. So what is your feeling about the match that just ensued?
I'm really happy we won, and I'm really happy that I got to play a new character like Wukong, and it was really fun, and it was a good game. So I feel so good. I think TSM is pretty clearly the second best team in the league right now. So beating them is the first step towards the undefeated season. So super happy. I think we are, by far the best team, and TSM is by far the second best team. So this feels really good for us.
Interesting. I know a lot of people are still trying to determine who the second place team is, so it's cool to hear from you kind of feeling very secure in that. Was there anything particular in their play that makes you feel that they are securely the second place team when some others are still considering themselves in that contention?
Yeah, I mean, I just judge from scrims, and I think some teams like Team Liquid, they have a 6-2 record, but they're really lucky to be 6-2 and not 4-4, given last week's performances. So I feel like TSM has only looked better and better every week, despite, I mean, aside from their like terrible full AP draft versus FlyQuest and kind of today as well, they look pretty good in their games. So I think they're clearly the second best team. Teams like EG, Fly, and Team Liquid have like one day where they look pretty good, next day they look terrible, and they rely too much on one player carrying the game. Like EG needs Shizuka to carry, and Fly needs Paul to carry, and if that doesn't work, then there's nothing happening, right? So I think those teams are weaker, whereas TSM seem to be kind of like C9, but just like discount, I guess.
The discount C9. I do want to focus on your play a bit because, as you mentioned, you did get to bring a new pick to the table, Wukong down bot. Not a lot of games with him in pro play currently. So why don't you talk us through why C9 decided to come into the draft with this as a priority here today?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the LCS a little bit, and I noticed that Matt has been playing Senna Wukong a lot, and has been banned against him a lot of times. So I asked Carsey about it, and he said he thinks it's really strong. And I asked him about counters and what it's good against, what it's bad against, blah, blah. We had a quick chat about runes and setups and team fighting, blah, blah. And he gave me some good tips, and I told my coach about it. We tried it in scrims, and I said, today I want to play it. I think it's really good against this team. And it was hard in lane phase. It always is before 6, but I felt good in team fights. I think our draft was better than theirs today. They were pretty heavy magic damage, and Varus couldn't do much to Ornn. Didn't have anyone to kill Ornn. So yeah, I think draft was good today, and I feel good that I can play something like Wukong on stage because it makes teams afraid of us when they go on stage. Like, oh, this could be Wukong bot or top, maybe even jungle for all I know, right? And Wukong plays Senna for the first time, and it's like having those flex picks available is so good for us for the future because teams will be afraid of us. So feeling good today.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even though we speculated where the Wukong was going, we didn't really know until everything was said and done. And Cloud9 account actually tweeted, "This is an ultra mega hyper quadriflex draft." But one thing that's not spoken enough about often enough is the fact that being able to bait these out and put these picks forward requires all these players to potentially be able to play these picks. So you're saying how you approach the staff and that you wanted to give Wukong a try, but how much is it, whether it's you as a person or C9 as a collective, that you're spending trying to make sure these champion pools are expanded for each of you?
We have the luxury that we are already 8-0, now we're 9-0, and we are pretty confident that we're going to make playoffs at least, right? And we can probably get first place even while trying stuff. So we have luxury to be able to try stuff on stage, get some experience under our belts. And even if we lost today, it'll be fine. We got to try out our comp and stuff. So we can, lose a few games here and there. It doesn't actually matter because we can use those games for practice purposes and hiding picks or whatever. So I feel like we just don't have to be afraid of the consequences of trying new stuff, whereas other teams might be like, oh, if we try this at stage, might lose, and that's bad for our record because we want to get playoffs, So yeah, I think we're just in a good position right now in the standings that we can, flex a little bit.
I think with this week, there's a lot of feelings of nostalgia, but there's also these bright eyes towards the future because Cloud9 representing past success and future success, hopefully, based on how you all have been performing. So with this opportunity now, whether it be to fans that have stuck with Cloud9 throughout the years or those that have been coming to you due to this recent success, what do you have to say to all the fans out there?
I know that at first there was a lot of people that were against, my move to the team, but a lot of people also cheered me on, and it helps. And so far, the first 7 months of this year, I only received positive comments, and people are all behind us right now. So it gives us a lot of momentum going into games that we know fans are behind us and cheering for us, and it feels so good to go on stage. And I'm just grateful for all the support from the people recently. So thank you to everyone cheering for us, and hopefully we can reward you with a trophy in Summer Split and then go to Worlds, and we'll see.
Well, and thank you, Zven, for joining me here today to chat.
Thank you.
All right. With that, everybody, we are going to send things over to the State Farm Analyst desk to continue breaking down a tremendous game.
Thank you very much, Licorice. Very solid win out of Cloud9 in the end, right? We always talk about how the C9 games are close until they aren't, and they come away with it. But I love the amount of respect that Zven showed in that interview to TSM, saying that he feels they're definitively the second best team in the league behind Cloud9. And I think they did prove that today, even in the loss.
Well, the fact that Bjergsen got solo kills on Nisqy and really showed a lane kingdom mid lane, I think bodes well for TSM being the second place team. And they were doing fine, but I think the big part of the issues with TSM was what Zven was hitting up on. You have a lot of magic damage, and you've got a Varus that's building on hit, or sorry, not on hit, just a poke.
Without
or it's not dying. Or neither is said, like the tanky boys are just going to run you over, especially when they got Senna backing them up.
Yeah, and that's why I just love C9's draft. The pick order was really interesting, how they take the Wukong right away. Then they still take the Senna and the Azir, which kind of telegraphs bot lane.
Yeah, gave that one away a little.
Yeah, but they also still then paired it with Sett and Ornn, and technically any combination of those can kind of go into the support position, and you top and jungle. There's a lot of triple flex picking on, so even though they didn't really show it this game, I still think it kind of telegraphs like, hey, our champ pools are massive. We can do whatever we want. We went for the quote-unquote most standard version of this draft here, but I think it shows a lot more options in the future.
Well, yeah, like you said, options in the future. This was Wukong as Zven playing it, and Wukong has been played with the support, not only as Senna as the AD. So Zven coming in and playing a melee kind of like 80 teamfight assassin is pretty impressive. And even in their last teamfight, he was the one getting flanks. Like these are characteristics that AD carries don't learn on any of their champions. So the fact that he's able to pull that was really impressive. But speaking to the TSM being second best, I mean, I kind of respect that because they're actually able to take fights to Cloud9 in the early game. Obviously, this is a nice showcase of Licorice just being super lane dominant and comfortable knowing that he's going to burn summoners and his teammate's going to clean up because he just flashes there just to get a little bit more damage on Broken Blade.
What I love about this play, though, is that why TSM feels like the second best team is because they didn't just let this happen. At the same time, Bjergsen's roaming down to the bot lane where this Senna Wukong, which is a little weak pre-6, is getting punished correctly by TSM. They had already shoved them out of lane. They had already forced some summoners. And then, Blaber's down here trying to hold the turret, and they're going to pop him as well. So this was a really impressive showing out of TSM, answering every time C9 had to play.
Then again here, just some more highlights in the jungle. Showing C9's willingness to come down to the bot side. So while the top side got rolling in a nice way, Licorice quick to extend that advantage down to the bot side, relieve some of that pressure that Zven was feeling as a Wukong down in CS. And again, Nisqy showing up as he always does to boot. So, I mean, just really impressive showing out of Cloud9, obviously, in the early game. But I think these numbers here that are on your screen right now are what's going to be most interesting to a lot of people in that conversation around second best. Because we've been quantifying everyone's losses to Cloud9 just based on how close they can keep the gold to even as the game progresses. And you can see they're at 20 minutes into the game, essentially even.
I think oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Bjergsen deserves a lot of credit there. He was solo killing Nisqy in the side lanes. The highlights did not do Bjergsen justice for how hard he was popping off. He was on the verge of taking over this game for the first 20 minutes, and only when C9 started answering some of his plays did they get him under control a little bit.
He was on the verge, but I think what really kept Cloud9 in it the whole time was Licorice in the top lane, taking the Ornn early, supposedly getting counterpicked with the Mordekaiser, still winning the lane, still able to go to the side lanes and take out Bjergsen pretty much by himself. If TSM were to be able to continue to punish the bottom lane like we saw them attempting to, and they would have won the top lane matchup, I think they would have been able to run away with a significant gold lead and then start piling on those objectives that they had control over, and maybe we would have seen a different game. So a lot of credit for me goes to Licorice for holding down the fort in the top lane and being able to just transition it into teamfight success so cleanly.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the last time that C9 and TSM played in regular season when TSM actually won, a lot of it was because they drafted a strong teamfight comp against Cloud9, and Cloud9 just cannot turn away a teamfight. So they were just taking it all the time, but in this draft, Cloud9 actually got the much better teamfight comp. Yeah, like you said, they got two big beefy boys, they have a nice wombo combo, and then obviously Blaber's always in there to start the fights.
Yeah, so here it is. Actually, in fact, this time around, it's Blaber getting caught. What I think is so interesting about it is this is setting up for exactly that point you're making, probably. TSM now thinking they have the advantage with the pick. They want to extend the lead. They want to be the first team to take down Cloud9. And in the 4v5, Licorice will find his opening.
This is a 3v5. Azir is way side. He's not even close to joining this fight. So they find Broken Blade overextended, and they have the Ornn engage, the Wukong engage, and then by then there's just too much damage done where Bjergsen isn't at an angle to really one-shot anyone. So they just, Zven barely gets that last hit on Doublelift.
TSM just did not respect that they could engage or would be even willing to engage at such a disadvantage in numbers. And so you've got the Volibear spreading to the wolves. Think, okay, I could go for this camp right now, counter jungle where this is happening, but they needed to be right there because, like probably mentioned, Cloud9 not wanting to shy away from a fight, and since the Senna Wukong is so rare in LCS, people aren't really used to it. Hell, they're not even used to Wukong in the first place.
Still waiting on top lane Wukong to show up again. Still no one's played it.
So let me hear from you three, because Zven said it. He believes TSM is second best in the league. Do you feel like this game does cement TSM as second best, even given Team Liquid's performance so far?
No, I think so. I see Crumb shaking his head. You want to go negative boy first or positive boy first?
All right, let's go positive boy first. Tell me why.
That was the best game I've seen anyone play versus C9. I mean, there's been other games with similar gold grass. If you go look at the TL1, the FlyQuest one, I think even another one where C9 has fallen behind early, but it's almost always been off the back of a stupid C9 play where they get too aggressive, they get 3 for 0'd on an invade or something, and then it's waiting until they get their big moment to get back into the game. This was one where TSM was actively making good plays and punishing C9 for draft choices and things like that versus just like, oh, they made a mistake. And I thought TSM did a better proactive job.
All right, Crumbs, give me the negative take.
I think they've been still too inconsistent. I've been saying it for weeks that there's still no second place. It really is completely up for grabs right now. I'm not surprised if TSM turn their things around and suddenly lose to Immortals or Dignitas. And so this team, yes, they look like the better one of Team Liquid, EG, and FlyQuest, but that's not to say that that is the very, being better than them, still not making you definitively second place because they're trading spots every single week.
All right, probably just tell me which one's right.
Caught in the middle. I'm going to say TSM is our second place. But I do think Crumbs has a lot of points. They're very inconsistent.
That's not probably. I gave you one job. I gave you one job.
I still said they're second place, but I'm saying it's
Mark is right.
It's a thin ice second place.
I'm right. Watch him lose to Immortals. Watch him lose to Immortals. All
right, I'm gonna
watch all the prep.
No, you're done.
You're
done.
They're gonna lose.
Somebody
to
mute him on production. Mute him. We're closing out Rivalry Week. It was set up in the best of ways with Cloud9 versus TSM, but Cloud9 has completed the sweep. And I know a lot of you are thinking, yep, 3-0 sweep for Cloud9. It's actually a 4-0 sweep over the week. Cloud9 Academy took down TSM Academy. The classic C9 roster took down the classic TSM roster. The current C9 roster took down TSM. And guess what? There's a Valorant tournament going on right now. TSM, Cloud9, they were locked in the quarterfinals against each other in a 3-map series. Cloud9, the underdog, takes it in 2-1 fashion on an eco round of all things, 13-10 in the final game. So, hey, all this means to me, gentlemen, is I'm excited for the next time TSM and Cloud9 match up further in the split to see if TSM can run it back and get their revenge.
It sounds like C9's making TSM look the way TSM makes CLG look. So how excited can we really be here?
All right. If they didn't feel the fire before, TSM's feeling it now. We're going to take a break. When we return, it's Team Liquid going up against Counterlogic Gaming. So don't go anywhere.
And we've upgraded her with a sonic shield.
Impressive.
There is one more thing.
Jake from State Farm.
Here's the deal. With the Drive Safe and Save app, you'll save up to 30% for being a safe driver. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.